We owe $70 trillion.
I understand that, but
to walk out a $4 trillion solution, which is basically just a way for the Democrats to avoid dealing with this until 2017. I'm not here to talk about plans to deal with this till 2017. I'm saying we've got a real problem, and I'm tired of Republicans and Democrats who either want Republicans who want to burn the place to the ground, and Democrats, with all due respect, who want to offer a plan that gets it through their end of their second term of their presidency, and then screws me and my kids when it's over. And until we do that, we have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact. Tens of trillions of dollars are being extracted from the United States of America. Democrats aren't doing it. Republicans are not doing it. An entire integrated system, financial system, trading system, taxing system that was created by both parties over a period of 2 decades is at work on our entire country right now. And we're sitting here arguing about whether we should do the $4 trillion plan that kicks the can down the road for the president for 2017 or burn the place to the ground. Both of which are reckless, irresponsible, and stupid. And the fact of the matter is, until we actually, and I'm sorry to lose my temper but I tell you what, I've been coming on TV for 3 years doing this. And the fact of the matter is that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking, it's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward, Susan, to deal with
but there's only one right now. The leader of the free world, whether you like it or not, the president of the United States is arguably one of the most powerful individuals we have out there.
But and Susan, he's what you're saying is exactly the point that Dylan is making. It's not about one guy. It's about all of them.
No, I actually disagree. I think Dylan's saying it is about one guy.
It is about one guy.
What would you like him to do?
I would like him to go to the people of the United States of America and say, people of the United States of America, your Congress is bought. Your Congress is incapable of making legislation on healthcare, banking, trade, or taxes because if they do it, they will lose their political funding and they won't do it. But I'm the President of the United States, and I won't have a country that is run by a bought Congress. So I'm not going to work with a bought Congress and try to be Mr. Big Guy. I'm working with the bought Congress. I'm going to abandon the bought Congress like Teddy Roosevelt did, and I'm going to go to the people of the United States and I'm going to say, you've got a bought Congress. And until we get rid of the bought Congress, which is Jimmy Williams' constant point, which is get the money out of politics, and until a president says that's the problem and says he's going to fix it, there is no policy that I can possibly see, no matter how brilliant your idea may be, or your idea, or my idea, or her idea, or your idea at home, is that idea will not happen as long as there is the capacity to basically fire a politician who disagrees with me by taking funding away from him. Is that a fair assessment?
Money in politics is the root of all political evil. It is corruption at its worst. And until we step up and kick that out of the park, it's going to be the same system all
and only the president could do that. We're going to
No. Congress has to do it too. The Congress has to do it too.
But I'll tell you what. How bad does it have to get? How much money has to be extracted? How many things have to be heard?
The brass tacks. Okay, physically, what do? You
go and give a speech
right now.
Right now.
Right now.
You say.
And then what happens tomorrow?
Tomorrow, what happens is you begin the process of actually investing in solving the problem. So I come out and I say, how? I create an infrastructure bank with 2% lending immediately. Once I explain to people the problem, once I explain to you have cancer, once you understand how screwed up your trade, tax, and banking policies are, believe me, you will have no issue when I incorporate an infrastructure bank that I fund with repatriated offshore money that I bring in and then use to create 2% direct lending to every business in America, because when you realize that the banking system is fully corrupt and defrauding us, and I come out and say that, which is what I want my president to do, that at that exact moment I say, you know what, we got a screwed up situation here, people. You all know it, and now what? I'm going to admit it. And as a result, not only have I admitted it, but we're going to begin the process of solving it like grown-ups. They did it in World War II. They did it after the Civil War. They did it in Latin America with the Brady bonds. We are not seeing it happen now. The panel stays a little more emotional than I anticipated getting at work this afternoon, but what am I going to do?
The French are rioting all across their country over the carbon taxes that are going into place that absolutely hammer the poorest French. And they're moving forward with carbon taxes again in Australia and in other nations under globalist control. But meanwhile, the average American doesn't even know what a carbon tax is, but they know about the Cardinals and the Texans. And that, my friends, is why I disdain the worship of sports so much. If we were still a free country by any stretch of the imagination and weren't being absolutely robbed in front of our eyes, then I wouldn't care. It'd be like if your wife walked in while you and your buddies are watching an NFL playoff game, and she said, there's men breaking in the back, and they're walking out with not just the jewelry and the computers and the big screen TV and the antiques, they're walking off with our children. And the dad turns wearing a sports jersey and says, I don't care, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's basically the response, and then laughs with his buddies and gives each other a high five. Because we're losing our entire society right now. Our country is being permanently deindustrialized, permanently impoverished, breaking us so the bureaucrats can run our lives. And it's so sad to see it happen. We've got so much news today. We've got the gentleman joining us who got harassed by the NSA for daring to lampoon them, an artist. He's now suing them, and that's made national news. He's going to be joining us, and then the journalist that first broke this story, and then we broke it, and then Drudge pushed it out where it became a top story in the country. But the person that actually broke it was Ben Swan, and he's going to be joining us later in the broadcast. Not so much to talk about that story, but a bunch of other big stories that the award-winning Edward R. Murrow, journalist, is going to be covering here on the transmission. And the whole state of the world and where we're going as a society. I think we should create, and I think it should be a $100,000 prize a year, if I can continue to bring in the capital to do things like this, a $100,000 Radigan Award for the MSNBC host that blew up on air and said it's all a fraud, we're being bankrupted by design, it's financial impoverishment, we're being strip mined by offshore mega banks, emergency, 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 Dylan Radigan. And then they fired him. And I think there should be a Dylan Radigan Award for $100,000 a year. You have Peabodys, you have Pulitzers, you have things like that have now gotten kind of watered down over the years because they give them to a lot of establishment hacks. Like the Nobel Prize, it has become a total fraud, giving Obama one, Henry Kissinger, Al Gore. I mean, it is. I mean, I wouldn't take one. Literally, I wouldn't take one if they offered me one. Who's the famous rock star refused a knighthood? I forget, but I admire that. The point is that that's what's really good, is to refuse one of these awards. I am announcing, and I can't do it this year because I don't have the funds, but next year, if we have the funds, and I think we will have them, we'll have a $100,000 award announced in November, the Dylan Radigan Award. And of course, who would be the first recipient of the Dylan Radigan Award? Well, it would be somebody like Dylan Radigan, because I played that clip again Friday. And when it happened earlier this year, it didn't really hit me. When I played it, that's what's going to save us. That exact type of behavior. What I did on Piers Morgan, exact same deal. Hey, stop the music. I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm breaking with your incrementalism. I'm awake. We're in trouble. I'm making a break with the system because the system's going over the edge of a cliff. It's like a runaway train about to go over the edge of a cliff. Everybody's sitting there sewing and drinking coffee and picking their nose and sitting on their thumbs. We need to get off this train.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at Infowars.com/show.
Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm David Knight. It's Monday, March 7th, 2016. Here are our top stories.
Tonight, how the TPP is already affecting U.S. jobs. Then, BMW debuts its new self-driving car. After that, ranchers on the border are dumbfounded by the lack of security. And the gloves come off in the Democratic debate. That's next.
That Secretary Clinton has discovered religion on this issue. But it's a little bit too late. Secretary Clinton supported virtually every one of these disastrous trade agreements written by corporate America. NAFTA, supported by the Secretary, cost us 800,000 jobs nationwide, tens of thousands of jobs in the Midwest, permanent normal trade relations with China.
Excited to be able to announce to you the introduction at InfoWarsLife.com of a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWars Life formulations like Survival Shield X2 and Super Male Vitality. Just go to InfoWarsLife.com today, select your favorite product, click on Auto Ship before adding to cart, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. Every time you choose Auto Ship at InfoWarsLife.com, you get 10% off, and you won't have to worry about running out and having to reorder next time. And of course, you can cancel with one click anytime. As you know, I'm all about the idea of a 360 win. And the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com is a sure win for everybody. A win for liberty, a win for health, and a win when it comes to big savings. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and save 10% on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
Well, this breaking news, we have Michael Bloomberg saying he is not going to enter the presidential race. And of course, he has flirted with this, saying that if his favorite, Hillary Clinton, did not get the Democrat nomination, that he would enter to save the world from Bernie and from Donald Trump. I guess when I look at this profession that he is not going to enter the race, a couple of James Bond titles come to mind describing this James Bond supervillain we call Michael Bloomberg. Never say never, and the world is not enough. And just keep that in mind, because these guys can always jump in. He's a long ways off, and of course, Hillary can always be indicted. More on that later in the news broadcast. But when we look at what happened this last weekend, there was a lot of news, of course, not only a Democrat debate that we're going to be covering with Leanne McAdoo in the next segment, but there were also a lot of primaries this weekend. Let's take a look at what happened on the Republican side. This is an article from the New American. Does Super Saturday signal a change in the Republican race? And of course, in Kansas, Ted Cruz thumped Trump. A big victory for Ted Cruz. But is Kansas really much of a bellwether state? Remember that Kansas in 2012 picked Santorum. In 2008, they picked Huckabee. Neither of them, of course, went on to win the nomination. Very much like Iowa, both of those states were won by the same two people in both of those years, Huckabee and Santorum in 2008, 2012, respectively. What's going on in Kansas is that it is a closed primary. We'll talk currency is being manipulated by China. The EPI says the trade deficit with TPP countries, attributable in large part to misaligned currency, costs America's working families 2 million jobs in 2015, more than half of those in manufacturing. By omitting currency rules from the TPP, it benefits Wall Street. It makes the TPP a tool for offshoring jobs, not for job creation. If Congress is waiting for more evidence that TPP is a bad deal, this is it.